Today, Microsoft announcing plans to buy a major video game studio that would make it one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. AT&T and Verizon again agreed to delay turning on 5G services at some airports amid a standoff with the airline industry, which has warned about a catastrophic impact on thousands of flights. And oil prices hit 7-year highs today after attacks in the Middle East add to an already tight supply outlook. That and much more coming up on NTD Business. Good evening. It's great to have you with us. I'm Evelyn Lee, in for Paul. Here's a big announcement from today. Microsoft said it will be paying nearly $70 billion in cash to buy Activision Blizzard. That's one of the biggest acquisitions in the tech sector. It's the video game studio behind blockbuster hits like Warcraft, Overwatch, and Call of Duty. This acquisition will make Microsoft the third largest gaming company by revenue. Regulators and Activision Blizzard shareholders will first need to approve the deal, which is set to close in 2023. And until then, both companies will operate independently. Activision Blizzard's stock is up 26% today. And joining me now to discuss this is Dan Ives. He's a senior equity analyst and managing director at Wedbush. It's great to see you, Dan.
Great to be here.
Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard for almost $70 billion. So talk to me about that. What is the significance of this deal, and where does it put Microsoft in the market?
Yeah, it's the biggest tech deal ever in terms of M&A. And this is really an offensive move for Microsoft, aggressively on the consumer side. You know, as successful as they've been on cloud, consumers been on a treadmill. You look at the Activision asset, I think that fits like a glove, a smart acquisition. And it was an aggressive move. I call it a shot across the bow at Facebook, Google, and others.
And Microsoft actually paid $95 per share for this. And that was almost 15% higher than the actual market value at that time. So why would Microsoft be willing to spend that kind of money? And I mean, how does it help in its consumer strategy?
Yeah, Activision is a unique asset. Stock's also been under a lot of pressure, given the CEO, Bobby Kotick, some of his issues over the last few months. I mean, so the stock that's down significantly from 52-week highs. And this is a content acquisition. It's a content arms race. It's really rare in terms of what you're seeing that Activision brings with Call of Duty and other content and franchises. And it's really part of Microsoft's streaming strategy, and I believe also part of its Metaverse strategy.
Yes, and you mentioned that before. You said it would facilitate Microsoft's move to Metaverse. So can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, Activision, when you look at gaming, I mean, that's really, I think, the first monetization part of the Metaverse. I think Microsoft's going to take these Activision assets within its flywheel from streaming to other parts of the consumer and, of course, the console with Xbox. And I think for Microsoft, when they look at Sony and, of course, Nintendo and others, and this was really Microsoft saw a window of opportunity to make an aggressive content move, and that's what they did.
And when can we expect this deal to actually close? And are they facing any obstacles considering of the size of this deal?
Yeah, heightened regulatory scrutiny across the board. This is going to get a significant look within the Beltway as well as Brussels. I do think there's probably about 80% chance that it passes, probably within the next 12, 14 months. But it's definitely going to go through a lot of regulatory scrutiny, especially in this heightened backdrop.
Right. Let's see how everything plays out. Thank you so much for your insights, Dan. It's great to have you on.
Thank you.
AT&T and Verizon today decided to delay launching 5G wireless services near some airports. That's after major airlines raised concerns about possible catastrophic impacts on flights. The two phone carriers agreed to hold off on turning on some of the wireless towers near key airports. Airlines warned that the 5G service, which was supposed to start tomorrow, would interfere with aircraft technology and cause massive flight disruptions. That means tens of thousands of Americans could be stranded. They've been preparing to cancel a significant number of flights in the coming hours. The airlines on Sunday suggested that 5G be deployed except for within 2 miles of some airport runways. Security worries drove oil prices to a 7-year high today. U.S. benchmark crude futures rose 2.4%, and Brent crude futures rose 1.6%. Recent attacks on the United Arab Emirates caused concerns over possible supply disruptions and is pushing prices higher. A group backed by Iran launched drone and missile strikes, setting off explosions and fuel trucks. They warned they could target more facilities, and the UAE affirmed its right to respond to terrorist attacks. And then there are OPEC nations adding to concerns. Some of them say they're struggling to pump enough oil to reach targets, citing underinvestment and outages. And investment firm Goldman Sachs shares fell nearly 7% today after reporting weak earnings. Its quarterly profit down almost 13%, falling short of Wall Street's targets. Trading revenue fell below estimates as fewer swings in the financial markets resulted in lackluster trading volumes. In the same quarter, the company also spent more on compensation and benefits, to be exact, 1/3 more year over year. And today, Goldman CEO David Solomon told investors there is real wage inflation everywhere in the economy. There are some bright spots, though. Its investment banking revenue jumped 45% thanks to record fees from advising on IPOs, big mergers, and other deals. A recent survey by Willis Towers Watson estimates, on average, employers in the U.S. will raise wages by 3.4% this year. And Wall Street's main indexes fell sharply today. The Dow fell 543 points, or 1.5%. The S&P 500 lost 86 points, or 1.8%, while the Nasdaq lost 387 points, or 2.6%. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury yield rose to a 2-year high of 1.87%. Bitcoin millionaires are flocking to Puerto Rico, especially after one of the biggest crypto years ever. And here's part of the reason why. Many investors consider the Caribbean island a paradise because of its major tax breaks, carefree lifestyle, and growing crypto community. Here's NTD's Phil Zhou.
Puerto Rico is becoming a haven for crypto millionaires.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's for the tax benefit.
It does sound very attractive.
You can work from Puerto Rico and provide services to any part of the world.
Chris Klein from Bitcoin IRA has many crypto buddies who've already moved to the island.
Individuals, if you can prove residency, then you have the ability to save on capital gains and personal income at the federal level. And as a corporation, you can have additional tax benefits.
In the U.S., investors can pay up to 37% on capital gains, but in Puerto Rico, you can end up paying 0 under its Individual Investors Act. But not everyone is happy about the huge influx of crypto millionaires.
It can seem a little bit unfair for locals in Puerto Rico.
That's because Puerto Ricans don't get the same tax exemptions as non-Puerto Ricans. Locals still have to pay up to 15% for long-term capital gains.
This could be counterproductive and also create more and more resistance from the Puerto Rican people.
Mark Bassa at Hawk Finance says besides Puerto Rico, there are more destinations you can consider.
The best ones over the next 5-10 years is really going to be UAE, Singapore, and Malta. That's where I would bet my money into getting an organization in and starting a crypto company.
Bassa says the US and EU are moving too slow with regulation.
Smaller countries with smaller governments can operate a lot faster and attract far more people than just doing things in tourism, but they'll actually bring these major corporations in.
Phil Zhou, NTD News.
Pent-up demand for luxury handbags and clothes is driving a rebound, and Italian luxury giant Prada is winning because of it. Today, Prada said group sales last year rose 41% to over $3.8 billion. This put them back above pre-crisis levels. The firm says core profits benefited from selling goods at full price. Right now, Prada is trying to push further upmarket and increase its online sales. And Swiss chocolate maker Lindt expects sales to grow less this year than last. It's blaming supply chain bottlenecks for 2021's slowdown in North America. Natalie Powell reports.
It had a bumper 2021, but Switzerland's Lindt is expecting a tougher year ahead. Demand for its upmarket chocolates soared during the global health crisis, boosting 2021's sales by over 13%. Lindt and Sprungli, to give it its full name, said growth was driven by high demand for treats to eat at home and a resumption of gift-giving occasions as restrictions eased. Its Lindor range recorded double-digit growth in major European markets, and while stores were impacted by lockdowns, the company also experienced double-digit increases in online sales. But in North America, sales slowed in the second half of 2021. The firm said that was partly due to supply chain bottlenecks caused by labour and materials shortages at its Russell Stover brand. And that's likely to spill over into this year, with Lindt predicting sales of its chocolates will grow at a slower pace.
And shipping companies are making bank amid supply chain issues. Bloomberg reports ocean carriers altogether made a record $150 billion in profits last year, with prices rising nearly 10 times. The spot rate for a 40-foot container from Asia to the U.S. reached $20,000 last year. That's way above the typical $2,000 a few years ago. And now it's still at about $14,000. The record shipping cost is stoking fear about persistent inflation. Research from the Kansas City Federal Reserve says there could be long-lasting effects. It found a 15% increase in shipping costs will result in a 0.1 percentage point increase in core inflation after a year. And inflation concerns are making home builders feel less confident about their business. The NAHB Housing Market Index dipped in January after 4 monthly increases. The group says the total cost of residential construction materials has increased almost 19% since December 2021. It says with higher costs, labor shortages, and higher mortgage rates, that'll make homes less affordable for buyers in 2022. The NAHB suggests policymakers cut tariffs for Canadian lumber to reduce the costs. Last November, the U.S. doubled the duty because of trade disputes. The price for softwood lumber has risen over 80% in the last 3 months. And the U.S. government announced a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics due to human rights abuses in China. Now, an NBA team co-owner said that nobody cares about the Chinese regime's persecution of the Uyghurs. NTD's Colin Fredrickson has the details.
Billionaire investor Chamath Palihapitiya is a co-owner of the Golden State Warriors basketball team. He tweeted on Monday night, "In re-listening to this week's podcast, I recognize that I come across as lacking empathy. I acknowledge that entirely." Palihapitiya was walking back comments he made in an earlier podcast in which he said nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs.
Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs, okay? You bring it up because you really care, and I think that's nice that you care. The rest of us don't care. I'm just telling you a very hard...
Wait, you're saying you personally don't care?
I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth, okay? Of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line.
Rights experts, eyewitnesses, and the U.S. government say that more than 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslims are imprisoned in labor camps in China's Xinjiang region. The State Department declared Beijing's repressive policy in Xinjiang to be genocide. The abuses, including slave labor, forced sterilization, mass detention, and surveillance, have driven the U.S. and other nations to stage a diplomatic boycott against the upcoming Beijing Winter Olympics. Palihapitiya said that the Xinjiang issue was, in his words, not top of mind for many people.
You know, I care about I care about America's crippling and, decrepit healthcare infrastructure. But if you're asking me, do I care about a segment of a class of people in another country? Not until we can take care of ourselves will I prioritize that for us.
His remarks quickly garnered widespread attention and criticism on social media. The Golden State Warriors distanced themselves from the internet storm. The team said on Twitter, "Mr. Palihapitiya does not speak on behalf of our franchise, and his views certainly don't reflect those of our organization." Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And Europol has shut down VPN Lab, which it calls a provider of choice for cybercriminals. So what impact does this have on the world of cybercrime? NTD's Faye Quarter has more.
European law enforcement has shut down VPN Lab, a go-to VPN for cyber criminals. Europol says it grounded 15 of VPN Lab's servers in multiple countries.
VPN simply stands for Virtual Private Network, and it's really a service that protects your internet connection.
Scott Schober is the author of Cybersecurity is Everybody's Business. Schober says VPNs keep a person's online data private by encrypting it. However, cyber criminals also use them to hide illegal activity. And a lot of that activity is on VPN Labs servers.
And that's important for investigators and Europol and law enforcement because they can put together the evidence and prove that a lot of the mischief that's been going on is being conducted through VPN Labs.
In a press release, Europol says it became suspicious of VPN Lab after multiple investigations connected it to cybercrime. Investigators even found advertisements for VPN Lab on the dark web.
If you are doing illegal activity through a VPN service, a legit one is going to turn this stuff over. This particular one is resistant to do so.
Brian Horning is the CEO of Exact IT Solutions. Horning says this is a selling point for VPN Lab and why Europol had to forcefully shut it down. Horning also says this isn't a huge takedown for cybercrime.
A lot of cyber criminals also have the capability to set up their own. So it's not too difficult to figure out how to set up your own.
The head of Europol's European Cybercrime Center says criminals are running out of ways to hide their tracks online. Each investigation we undertake informs the next, and the information gained on potential victims means we may have preempted several serious cyber attacks. Faye Quarter, NTD News.
And still to come, the CDC warning about counterfeit masks. We have tips on how you can tell whether they're real or fake. And want to bet on how much Heidi Klum's legs are worth? We take a look at how much they're insured for and another interesting tidbit. That and more coming up on NTD Business.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but also millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all your support. At MyPillow, we have hundreds of products now, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We are offering the best products ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. Or you can get custom fit with my premium queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now just $29.98. Or my king size, regularly $89.98, now just $34.98. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive offers. Thank you and God bless.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
The 2022 NTD 8th International Chinese Vocal Competition will be held at the Merkin Hall of Kaufman Music Center in New York City. The competition is honored to have specially invited vocalists with the world-renowned Shen Yun Performing Arts to serve on its panel of judges. The gold award is $10,000. The 2022 8th International Chinese Vocal Competition. For more information, please visit vocal.ntdtv.com.
America is facing a worker shortage in space. The watchdog for NASA says it is concerned the agency does not have enough astronauts for its future missions. The NASA Office of Inspector General released a report this month on the astronaut course. It found this fiscal year, NASA faces a shortfall in the number of astronauts it needs for missions, including trips to the International Space Station. The OIG partly blames this issue on the increase in space flights. The report warns if the issue isn't fixed, NASA faces crew disruptions and mission delays. And a famous auction house says it thinks this rare black diamond is from out of this world, literally. Sotheby's unveiled this fancy black diamond called the Enigma as part of its luxury sale series. The gem's origin is a mystery, but officials believe it was either created after a meteoric impact or from a diamond-bearing asteroid that collided with Earth. And here are some impressive specs for you. The diamond is over 555 carats. It was listed as the world's largest cut diamond in the 2006 Guinness Book of World Records. Sotheby's expects the diamond to be sold for at least $6.8 million. The auction house plans to accept cryptocurrency as a possible payment as well. So in case you're interested, bidding starts next month. And this week, President Biden is expected to announce more information about his plan to send high-quality masks to Americans for free. That's as the CDC is updating its mask mandate, recommending Americans wear the most protective mask or respirator they can find. And just as the agency issues a warning on counterfeit respirators. Here are some tips on how you can spot if they're fake or real.
The highly transmissible Omicron variant has health officials recommending you upgrade your mask to an N95 or KN95.
It prevents not only you from spreading the virus, but also prevents you from becoming infected from Omicron.
But the growing demand is leading to online scammers targeting unsuspecting consumers and selling counterfeit high-quality masks. But how do you make sure your mask is real or fake?
It's an incredibly difficult market for consumers to navigate. There are hundreds of millions of these masks on the market in America right now that have no oversight. It's very dangerous.
The U.S. certifies N95s, while China approves KN95 masks. The CDC has issued a warning saying about 60% of N95 or KN95 masks on the market are counterfeit. Here's how to spot the fake respirators. 1. The N95s should have a NIOSH approval label, confirming that it meets the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health requirements, and it should be spelled correctly. The KN95 should not have a NIOSH label.
As a consumer, it's impossible to tell by looking at a respirator whether it's a performing respirator or not. They look identical.
2. It shouldn't have any decorative fabric or add-ons and should not make elaborate claims. 3. If the facepiece respirator has ear loops instead of headbands, that's a red flag. So, how long can you wear the masks? Health experts say with proper care, they can be reused for several days.
And here are other red flags when it comes to masks. If it has no markings at all on the filtering facepiece mask, it's likely fake. Also look for typos, see whether the sale listing has good grammar, and takes you to the company website. The CDC also has updated its consumer mask website to include a list of approved and non-approved masks. And moving to a slightly different topic. How about insured legs? Yes, it's possible. And supermodel Heidi Klums are insured for $2 million. But in a recent interview on Ellen, she shared that one is worth more than the other. Klum explained that when she was a child, she fell into some glass, leaving her with a huge scar on one of her legs. The model said herself she finds the whole insurance thing weird, and it wasn't even her who insured them, it was a client. And some other celebrities who have body parts insured are Dolly Parton, Jennifer Lopez, Rihanna, and Madonna. The word game Wordle has taken the internet by storm, but a game with a similar name is also reaping the rewards and using its newfound popularity to help charities. Wordle is only available online. Users get 6 chances to guess the word of the day, but the game's popularity has gotten people mistakenly searching for it in the App Store. And that's where Wordle with an exclamation point comes in. The developer of the 2017 app game noticed a recent spike in downloads, and when he realized why, he decided to donate proceeds from his app to charity. According to The Verge, he's collected $2,000 so far. He says he will donate the total amount at the end of this month to a charity that mentors young people in Oakland, California. A new virtual reality experience in France allows visitors to experience the Notre-Dame Cathedral through the ages. It's a different way to discover the historic church while the public awaits its reopening in 2024. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
The immersive experience takes visitors through a 45-minute trip, complete with visual and sound effects, and takes users from the construction of the iconic Parisian landmark to the fire that ravaged it in 2019.
The cathedral has been closed for 3 years, so just imagine. That means 40 million disappointed people who would otherwise visit. If we open in 2024, we have to wait another 3 years. So this is an occasion for believers, visitors, and tourists to be able to say, well, we had the chance to see Notre-Dame in another way. The virtual leads to reality.
The areas virtually recreated include the surroundings of the cathedral as it was being built in the Middle Ages, the inside of the church during a service, and the top of one of its towers today. French historical figures such as French architect Eugène Viollet-le-Duc and former French President and General Charles de Gaulle guide people through the various eras.
I am very impressed by the fact that this allows a dive back in time. It is not only about seeing Notre-Dame again, but also about seeing Notre-Dame throughout history. The first few images of the medieval alleys and so on. I find this very powerful, and I think it works extremely well.
The project was developed over 2 years by virtual reality startup Emissive, and is fully financed by French telecom company Orange. Admission will be $34 per person, and is expected to open later on in other cities around the world such as New York, Rome, and Moscow. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And that's the latest business updates for today. You can catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.